This is the Dallas Morning News.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into SportsDay Insider, presented by the Dallas Morning News. I am Kevin Sherrington, joined by my old pal, Evan Grant. I was on a little sabbatical for a couple weeks.
Sabbatical, my butt. Tell them where you were, Kevin. Go ahead.
Well, we're a little boondoggle. The lovely wife, is a realtor, and they had their annual conference in Maui, which was my kind of place for a conference, better than, nothing against Garland, but better than Garland or Mesquite or, North Dallas where I live. So,
well, aloha to you. Did you do a luau? I'm sure you did a luau.
We did a luau. They had a guy, twirling fire. Debbie twirled fire in high school. She was a state champion twirler in Arkansas.
Was she really? She won the state championship?
Won state championship. She twirled fire, man. Can you believe that they would let a teenager, sure, honey, go out there and just light up this baton and just throw it all over the place?
I don't think they allow that anymore.
I don't think they do either. That's
now it's just knives. They can throw. They juggle knives.
They do that. Chainsaws and knives. Yeah. Anyway, it was great. We had a great time. It's a pretty unbelievable place. We went there 39 years ago for our anniversary, for our honeymoon. So back to Maui 39 years later.
Has it changed at all?
Debbie and I went back to the hotel we stayed at. We stayed in the what was called then the Century Hyatt. Now it's just the Hyatt Regency. And we just couldn't recognize a thing about it. I don't know. Maybe
that's a good thing, Kevin, that they've updated it in the last 39 years.
I'm not sure they have. I think it was more a case of we were a little bit in a blur, 39 years ago.
Well, I know you weren't drunk. You were just blissfully deluded.
Just deluded, yeah. Deluded and deluded, both. Anyway, it was wonderful. That's I highly recommend it. If you haven't heard it, Maui's pretty cool.
I've not been to Maui. I've been to Kauai, but not Maui.
Yeah, I've been to Kauai. We went there on our 10th anniversary, and I've been to Honolulu, been to Hawaii, the Big Island, or Hawaii, been to Oahu a couple of times for other boondoggles. Those were newspaper boondoggles at the time. So anyway,
I've only been to two of the Hawaiian islands, Oahu, so I could see the Pearl Harbor memorial, and Kauai, where our dear friend Nancy Nichols took me on a dirt road to the end of the island
and pushed you off
to some secret beach that she had been to 30 years previous or 20 years previous. And we get on the beach and there is a sign. It's magical. I mean, it's absolutely magical. The waves, it's January. The waves are really crashing against the beach. And there's a sign on the beach that says, "Do not feed or approach wildlife." And I'm just kind of sitting there and looking at the water for a little bit. Waves just entrance me. And then I look down for Nancy, and she's like 50 yards down the sand, petting a bull seal. It's like a 500-pound seal, and she's just petting it.
I don't think that's allowed.
Well, she wasn't imprisoned.
Yeah, well, that's good. And that's best for all parties. The sooner they got Nancy off the island, the better off they were. So that was good.
I'll tell her you said that. She'll be happy to hear it.
I tell you, I took video like the entire time and sending it back to the kids and let them see all that stuff. And I said, wouldn't you love to? I mean, some of the videos I took, I said, wouldn't you love to have this on a continuous loop? I would like to have this in a frame in my house somewhere where this is just happening. And most of it, like what you said, water crashing onto the rocks, and the water is just as blue as you could possibly imagine. It's just spectacular. It's a little different from Texas. I'll say that.
That's why you're the 5th best columnist in the country, Kevin.
That's right, pal. And let's not forget it. The 5th best, and you are the 8th best beat writer. We came through, didn't we? And then I have to point out that we also came in first in event writing in the APSE contest, which is what Evan is referencing. And that was for our coverage of the Luka Doncic fiasco in the immediate aftermath of that trade, in which, as our boss pointed out, we tied actually for first place with the LA Times, even though we got more first place votes than they did. I don't know how that works. You can get 3 times as many first place votes and yet you're tied. But anyway,
I don't know.
We finished first, and ESPN finished 5th for the same thing. They entered their coverage of the Luka Doncic trade.
And this is what people really want to hear about this week, how the APSE awards came out.
We did good. We get to toot our horn every once in a while. We don't do it very much. We make fun of ourselves most of the time, and rightfully so. All right, let's move on. Speaking of the Mavericks, Tim Kalishaw filled in admirably in my place last week. I appreciate him doing that. And
people are saying, it's not just me saying it, Sports Illustrated, it's Bleacher Report, but people are saying he was fantastic.
People are saying that. That's good to know. People. So anyway, Masai Ujiri, who's the new president of the Mavericks, and then they recently have named Mike Schmitz as the GM, who used to at one time work for ESPN, is considered a real whiz at the drafts. He's obviously worked in the NBA.
And obviously a baseball Hall of Famer with all those home runs at third base.
Yeah, that was Schmitz, not Schmidt.
Oh.
Close, though. Anyway, only off one consonant. I think these are good moves. It's very reminiscent, of course, of what the Rangers have, right? We'll see who's kind of calling the shots here, on the day-to-day. Ross Fenstermaker has the title of GM, but Chris Jung is really calling the shots. In the day-to-day of this thing, it'll be interesting to see if Masai has more of a big picture kind of thing, and then Mike kind of does all the nuts and bolts. I get the impression what he is going to be is the guy in charge of, he's the Will McClay of this organization. Now he's in charge of the draft. He's the guy who's going to make it. Masai will make the final call, but this will be based basically on all the work that Mike Schmitz has done up to that point. And then we also found out the Mavericks have the 9th pick in the draft, which was a real bummer. They were 8th. They dropped back one. This kind of puts them out of range, I think, probably for one of the point guards. And I had written a column about that earlier this year. There were 4 point guards up. There's a possibility that Michael Brown of Louisville would be available at 9 because of a bad back that kept him out of the NCAA tournament. I don't know if drafting a 19-year-old with a bad back is a good idea. Tim Kalishaw has already said that he's on board with that pick because of how well he played against the Mustangs. He is a really good scorer, and he does some really good things. It's just he can be a dynamic player, but bad back at 19 seems kind of problematic to me. Braden Burris, the shooting guard, and who could also end up being a point guard from Arizona, is another popular possibility there. I would sure love for one of those point guards to drop down. They need somebody who's going to be the eventual replacement for Kyrie Irving. But we'll be talking about that more as that gets closer to that date in, I guess that's June or July. One of the two. I can't remember when the NBA draft is. But we'll be all over that. So, Evan, let's talk about your Rangers.
Wait a minute. Do you want to know what Tim and I came up with on the verdict on Masai Ujiri?
What'd you come up with?
Look, it's a home run hire. And you want to know why?
Why is that?
Because the last guy was a triple play out.
Yeah, that was. He was.
It's always about who you follow, Kevin.
Well, it is. That's a lot of it, and I don't want to go overboard with this. I mean, there were several names that they came up with, and apparently, some that they wanted, they couldn't get permission to talk to. So Masai had previously been, of course, in Toronto and Denver. Won a title in Toronto. Then the welcome kind of wore out a little bit there. He's well respected though, And we have criticized no end the new ownership and everything that's happened since the new owners came in. But I will say this: first of all, it's not ownership's fault really that Nico Harrison traded Luka Doncic. They signed off on it, but it's not their fault. If Nico had wanted to keep him, they would have been fine with keeping Luka.
But the bottom line is they got a guy. Here's the deal: they got a guy who has experience as a general manager, who's run a franchise, who understands basketball.
Yeah, and then they got another guy. Well, here's the thing for me, Evan, that I like about this: the Mavericks, as I have said before, even early on, they had an organization, right? They had Norm Sanju, had Rick Sun, they had a president and a general manager. And so and they made good picks and they built a good team. They built a good franchise. At one point, it was considered a model franchise. This is what you do when you start up and you're building the franchise. And
right.
They were well respected for that. And they did very well. And then everything fell apart in the 90s. So, and then when Mark Cuban took over, we all kind of thought, oh, well, this is going to be great. Now they're souped up. This will be, everything will be modern and up to date. Well, that's not the case. That's not what happened. Mark was running was trying to do everything. And that's not the way to run a franchise. And so what they have done since the new ownership, they hired Rick Welch to be the president and to be in charge of getting a new arena built. They hired another guy to run the finance side. Now they've hired Masai Ujiri to be the president of basketball operations, and you have a general manager. There's layers here now.
They've recreated an actual organization. Yes, I mean, I've been on record a million times with you saying that I think Mark Cuban was a great owner and built a really fanatical following. But yeah, he had his hands in too many things and he wasn't really an experienced basketball person. And then we know what the Nico Harrison experiment was like. And so now you've hired experienced basketball executives. And I think that, how good they are remains to be seen, but it's an improvement over the way the basketball operations have been run for a number of years, Yeah,
for this pretty much this century.
Look, I mean, however things worked, the Mavericks had Donnie Nelson there, and they were able to pull off the Nowitzki trade, and that obviously was a game changer, and so that worked. But yes, this is now a layered basketball organization with experienced basketball executives.
Yeah, and you're right, and we need to wait to see what's going to happen here. This is going to be a big test right out of the box, right? I mean, this is what you want. You want the pros from Dover in there right now because this is a pivotal draft pick. This is a good draft. It's a deep draft, and you can get a player at 9 who can make a significant impact on your team this next season. So it's imperative that they do so because they don't have control of their first round pick again until 2030. So this is really important, and they have to get this right. And I will say this: just as you said, it looks like they have got the pieces in place to make the right decision, and we'll see if they do. But I have more confidence in this group to do that than I did in the previous one. I'll say
yes,
that. Yeah. All right. Okay, that's a good point, Evan. Thank you for making that point. All right.
Should we wrap up basketball before we move into the Rangers very quickly?
You want to talk about the Wings too?
Yeah, the Wings. The Wings opening week was a real fever dream.
Yeah, you just wanted to get that line in.
I really did.
That's all you wanted to do was get that whole thing in there.
But they beat the Fever. They beat Caitlin Clark, right? Yeah,
they did. That was big time, and they did that without AZ Fudd. Basically, they're the first pick of the draft, and then AZ has since missed a game, and they don't want to talk about it. The Wings don't want to talk about anything. Essentially, they just want us to come, watch the game. And then just write about it, okay? Don't bother us with questions.
And can you help us build an arena and a practice facility?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah, and go to bat for us for that. And we did that for him too. And it's like, no, well,
So yeah, we don't know what AZ Fudd's injury is. Is that the deal?
Supposedly it's a knee, and that's not good. It's problematic. There's some swelling around her knee. She's had a problem with that.
You don't want 19-year-olds with bad backs, and you're a little bit concerned about 22-year-olds with bad knees.
Yes, yeah, I'm really concerned about bad knees. I mean, look, she's had problems with this knee before, and I'm just going to say this again. Look, this is all reason why. I didn't like it either, too, when Jose Fernandez was asked, well, how come AZ only played, just a few minutes in the opener? And they said, well, we've got 5 good guards. If you had 4 good guards already, then why did you draft another one with the first pick?
Yeah. I get all that. I'm more concerned about the fact that I guess Megan Rapinoe went on the attack against you, Kevin.
Did she?
Yeah.
I did not hear that.
She ripped your questioning.
Oh, well, that's going to happen. People are going to do that. And I stand by the question, and I really stand by it now, because the whole point of the question was this a good idea?
Right.
So anyway, and now I think that question is being borne out now a little bit. So
now let's get to the hottest team in town.
The hottest team in town. Although, you know what? These guys, they're up, they're down, they're all around. I will say this. Here's the thing, Evan, I want you to point out, and you have to point out. I looked at the standings, I think, after last night. Although
right.
I really can't tell what last night was. I was on a plane all night, so I'm not sure even what today is. But at any rate, is that there are only 7 teams in the American League that have won 20 or more games.
Right.
And of those 7 teams, only 3 have won. Was it 3 or 2 have won more than 23? So basically, what I'm saying is that no one's playing that great across the American League except for the Yankees and the Rays.
Correct.
Everybody else is just okay. Everybody else is just playing okay.
Everybody else is off to just an okay start. Yeah, I mean, with the exception of the Astros and the Angels, which are fortunately in the Rangers division, it's basically, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams within 4 games of 500 one way or another.
Yeah. So that's considering, and as we talked about, you wrote about going into the season, this was going to be the toughest part of the schedule. They've pretty much weathered that, came out of that okay. They could have done better, but they certainly could have done worse. We've seen, and listen, I gave up on Zeke Duran 2 years ago.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now he's hitting like gangbusters.
Yep.
And I know you talked about one of the Rangers hitting coaches who maybe he has an affinity for, a guy he can identify a little bit with, and that's made a difference in his approach at the plate, which was horrendous before. I mean, he had one of the worst chase rates in baseball, right?
Yeah. And listen, I mean, I think that Alex Cintron being able to speak Spanish makes it easier to communicate. I think you also, we had Josh Jung on the Rangers podcast this week and talked to him a little bit about the impact that Nimmo has had on him. And all these guys have had some impact. I don't want to take away from the work that Josh has done or the work that Zeke has done. But certainly I think, coaching is all about messaging, right? It's about relating to people. When you get a guy who is a Spanish speaker with a kid who's much more comfortable in Spanish and who really shares a lot of commonality. Duran is from is from the Dominican, and Cintron may be from Puerto Rico, but they were both utility infielders, right? They both played the same position. I think that matters. I think it just helps form a bond, and they have really connected. And I don't think that what Alex has suggested to Zeke, maybe stepping off the plate just a little bit, is a whole lot of is very much different than things that guys have told him in the past. I think it's just the way it's delivered. And that's what coaching is finding ways or pieces to reach as many different players as you possibly can.
Yeah, frankly, I'm not even sure it's so much the language thing. It's just that you're more comfortable talking to a guy. I mean, Zeke speaks English, and so it's not like it's impossible. It's just somebody he identifies with. I think.
Yes, and who shares I mean, yes, it's just when you share commonality of culture or idioms or slang, it just sometimes makes it easier to get the message across.
Yeah.
And so I do think that has been important, and they are very much in communication with each other during the games. On Justin Vealey told me that Zeke is locked in on Centrone in the dugout, and vice versa, and I think that's great. And the same thing for Josh Jung. He said that I hope folks will listen to that interview, but he said that he and Brandon Nimmo speak the same language when it comes to hitting, and that's been a real eye-opener for him. And Nimmo's incredibly detailed in how he prepares for games. I think Josh wants somebody like that, and I think he has found that in Nimmo, and I'm seeing a much more studious hitter and a guy much more, he always said he was obsessed with the process, but I think I'm finding a guy who really is diving into that more.
Well, it's good to hear that's the case, because they've both been terrific. I mean, you can't expect either one of those guys to keep it up. I don't think Josh Young's going to hit 320. But look, he's way better than he's been, and way better than he's ever been, for that matter. And Duran looks like the guy, there was a time when in my sons and I would talk about it that, listen, I give Josh Smith all the credit in the world, but early on after that trade was made for Joey Gallo, it's like, oh, Duran is the player here, not Josh Smith.
Right.
And then he flipped that, and then Josh was, and now Josh has regressed and Duran has stepped up. And I will say this, of the two of them, if they're going to play at the top of their skill set, you want Duran, because he's got a lot more pop than Josh Smith does, and he's faster and got a bigger arm, and he's just a better all around athlete than Josh Smith is. Although I hate to see Josh regress like this. I mean, at some point he may go back to being, I guess, the utility player, and Zeke will become the everyday second baseman.
Well, we'll see how all that plays out.
What does that mean?
I mean, again, because what you're talking about here, I mean, I'm not trying to shut you up. I'm just trying to say that, like, both these guys don't have real established track records one way or the other. I do think that, yes, the general feeling is that Zeke had more upside when he arrived. But then you went through 2.5 years where you didn't see that. So I'm trying not to base too much on 40 games. Right now, Zeke is the hot hand, and he's going to get the runway.
Well, that's what should happen. Absolutely. Right. That's the way you play them.
Yeah.
And that's, I would play those, because neither one of those guys has established himself. I mean, Josh does have a Silver Slugger award as a utility player, so I don't want to dismiss that either.
Right.
But neither one has put together the kind of track record that says, okay, well, you've earned this and you're going to be our guy.
Correct. It's still a meritocracy there.
Yeah.
There's absolutely. Look, I mean, you've got a shortstop right now hitting under $180, and you could say, well, should he sit down a couple of days? But Corey Seager has a real track record. These guys at second base don't. So it's always a sliding scale on a meritocracy. But I think right now at second base, that's very much the way the Rangers are operating.
Well, here's the guys with the leashes, right? Seager, Nimmo, Langford, and I would say going into the season, that was it. Now, I would say that Young has worked his way into that group, probably.
Oh, for sure. But I listen. There's one thing about Josh Jung I want to say here real quickly. And you were on a beach in Maui when all this was taking place. I just mentioned that, not out of jealousy or anything like that, but Josh went through this stretch, 3 games. It was just a 3-game stretch with the Yankees in the first couple of games of the homestand, where he went in over and he did chase a little bit, and came right out of it with a 3-hit game, back-to-back 3-hit games. And my point here is, I don't expect Josh to hit 320 all year just like you, right? I don't expect that. But what you can do if you're a more disciplined hitter and you find ways to get on base is you can make the cold streaks last a little shorter, be a little shorter.
Yeah.
And what really impressed me was that he identified he had started to get into a little bit of a chase pattern, that he was chasing results 2 days in, and he broke that pattern. And that's a sign of maturity for me, along with the same things that go for him and Duran, right? The strikeout rate is down, the walk rate is up, the chase rate is down. Those are things that don't suggest this is just a hot streak. Those are things that suggest a real turn in a player's growth.
Yeah, for sure. So those guys have been great. So the lineup, look, it is problematic that the Seager is in this horrific slump, and B, Langford is not even on the field. So that's problematic because these are the two guys you got to have. You got to be able to ride these guys a little bit.
I don't think the offense is going to get on a real hot streak and a prolonged hot streak until you get both Seager and Langford performing.
Correct. But if you can keep Jung at this 320 level until Seager gets going, well, then that kind of makes up for a lot of it, right? That's what a lineup is all about. There's no way everybody stays hot all year long. You hope guys are up when other guys are down, and vice versa. Then that kind of thing rides. They all ride the waves together. And so as long as Zeke and Josh Jung are hitting like this, and Nimbo keeps up doing what he's doing, then if Jock Peterson is just okay. He's not great. He's okay. And my problem for this lineup right now is that, I'm trying to give Evan Carter some rope here, and it's just not working. I mean, his numbers, his WAR numbers are pretty good, but that's mostly based on his defense and his running ability. It's not based on what he's doing at the plate.
No, he's not hitting like you'd like to see him hit. I mean, he's still hitting under 200, I think, right?
Yeah, he is. Way under 200. So that's not good. And
but WAR-wise, he is the team leader in WAR among position players. He and Nimmo.
I know, and I think a lot of that is because of the defense and
for sure the defense for sure.
And so
it's why Josh Jung isn't leading the team in WAR, because he hasn't played great defense, and I think he acknowledges that.
Yeah. So at some point, I'm a little disturbed that Alejandro Osuna, who's been pretty good, and since he's been called up, at least he's been something. But when he came up last year, was that last year that he came up?
Wait a minute, you're disturbed about Alejandro Osuna?
No. I'm disturbed about this development in his game. That when he came up in the spring last year, the guy's hitting balls off the wall, all the time. It seems to me he just turned into a slap hitter.
Let me tell you something. Alejandro Osuna has a 432 on-base percentage right now and a 746 OPS. I don't care if he's a slap hitter or not. You do you're going to play every day in the big leagues.
What's his slugging percentage?
His slugging is 314. He has one extra base hit. Kevin, I've dealt with people in the Rangers organization who focus on things that don't go well. I will say this. For me, the quality of at-bats that Osuna has taken, and the way he's gotten on base, he's nothing but a plus for me right now. And I wouldn't, I don't know if I want to go this far, but you get to a point, if Langford ever gets on the field, do you start to wonder if Osuna or Evan Carter is going to get more playing time?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So yeah. I'm bothered. I still don't understand. Why was he hitting the balls off the wall in spring training, and now everything is dumping the ball in the left field?
Well, it's Arizona too. Just remember that. And the ball. Hey,
I'm going to tell you something. Not carrying an extra 50, 60 feet.
Let me tell you something, Kevin. I'm going to try and work on a story on this, but this is a stat that I came up with yesterday.
Did you're making up stats now?
No, just one that I looked up. while you were still vacationing in Hawaii. In 2021, balls that were barreled, okay, and the definition of a barrel, according to Major League Baseball, is exit velocity of 98 miles an hour or higher, and I think launch angle you're talking right in the 20 to 30 degree launch angle. So barrel, those are balls that are solidly struck with a chance to go out. In 2021, 36.7% of those balls hit to center field at Globe Life Field went out.
Yeah.
2022, 33.3% went out. 23, 41% out. 24, 25, and so far in 26, 15%, 15.2%, and 15.2%. Something has changed. Something has changed.
It's the air conditioning. They've turned the air conditioning on, and it's blowing in.
That's a dramatic drop, and I don't think that anybody can figure it out because, again, this is not something that's impacted by heat, by wind. Last night the roof was open. You had 3 home runs. We certainly had a home run, an Ezekiel Duran home run to the opposite field that left the bat at 92 miles an hour, carry into the outfield seats for a homer. But something has changed in that ballpark, and nobody can come up with an explanation.
Well, there's no question the ball carries better there when the roof's off.
For sure.
It's a great question, but I don't like it when people say they don't understand it. Get some engineers in there to have them do some testing. Holy cow! Come on.
What do you test when the roof is closed? There's no wind currents.
I don't know. Check. First of all, you check humidity. It would be my guess. I'm wondering if it's just more humid in there now than it used to be for some reason. Maybe it's containing more moisture. That's usually the kind of thing. Humidity is one of the factors, other than wind. That is I'm guessing the second biggest factor in how ball carries.
But I think I don't know. I mean, because I grew up in Atlanta with Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and the thing was always called the launching pad because of high humidity and that the ball carried well there.
No, I can't imagine that was.
That was the theory then. So
there's heavier. It's just like you go on the west, or you go out, at night when that thermal air comes in out there on the West Coast.
Shut up, Delkus. Let's go.
The ball won't carry. Ball doesn't go out at night. That's what everybody always talks about. So I have to believe that's part of the fact. I would like to see what the results show of that. That is interesting, of the balls being barreled up and what's happening to those balls going out. It certainly does suggest something. I will say this. I don't know if that's having a factor. It's playing in these guys' heads, or whatever it is.
But it's definitely in their heads.
It's definitely in their heads, but it's more of a situation where I don't understand how that makes you chase. I don't understand how that makes you more anxious to hit a ball hard. You just square the ball up. If Corey Seager,
I do think it makes you more anxious. I do think it makes you more anxious to how do you say this, to put a little bit more oomph into your swing, because you can't hit a ball 103 to center field and get it out. The other numbers I looked up this year or over the last few years is to have a better than 50% chance of a ball going out to center field, it's got to go 106 miles an hour.
Well, that's something. It's like, when you play golf and it's really windy, and it's just like, I hate it. I hate playing golf when it's really windy, because it's like you do feel like I've really got to kill this thing to get it to go anywhere. And It's not just the wind coming into you. It's when you got a crosswind, and now I've got to hit it I got to strike this really true. So it does affect you that way. But look, I'm telling you, Corey Seager already swings so hard on every miss. He couldn't possibly hit the ball any harder than he hits it. And if he squares the ball up, it is out. It is out of every park in the big leagues.
Again, on Sunday, and I know you were in airplane hell, he hit a ball 103 miles an hour, center field, squared it up, died at the warning track.
Well, that's interesting.
But I do think, I mean, just the way you explained it, right? When if you're an amateur golfer, and you may be a pro when it comes to baseball, I still think the same human nature gets into your head when you face this kind of adversity, something that you perceive as adversity.
Sure. I get that. All right. What else do we need to talk about on this? What about how's this working for you with Jake Latz as the closer?
So here's the upside. I mean, I think he's been great. I think he has the ability to be really good there. Because as Skip Schumacher said, he's got starter stuff in the bullpen. And so he's got multiple pitches and he can keep guys off balance, and he is throwing strikes. He's also got the ability. He's already had 2 inning saves this year. Just for reference, nobody's had more than 3 in the last 4 years, and only one since 2022 has had more than that. That was David Bednar in 22 with 4 saves of more than 2 or more innings. So this is a unique weapon the Rangers have at the back of the bullpen. That's great. Here's the downside. Right now the Rangers are without Nathan Eovaldi. We don't know if that's going to mean missing a start and that's it, or if that's going to mean an IL stint. But Jake Latz would be your ideal guy to move into the rotation, right? You can't take him out of the bullpen now and put him into the rotation, and he'd need to be stretched out. And with the fact that Cody Bradford has not made tremendous progress yet on his elbow, and that Jose Corniel just made his first start of the year at AAA. There's just not many attractive options if the Rangers need to go and get a starter to replace Eovaldi or somebody else who comes down with an injury. Latz was their depth, and now he's not. I mean, because he's too valuable in the bullpen.
Yeah, he is. And I'm wondering too, has he had a back-to-back yet?
I don't think they've run him out there for 3 straight days, but you don't often even do that with a closer, even 3 straight. Not in today's game.
I'm just wondering how he's handling the more, typical kind of obviously closer's role where you're coming out 3 days a week, maybe.
He pitched 3 out of 4. Actually, he did pitch 3 straight days. He pitched the 15th, 16th, and 17th of April against the A's twice and Seattle, threw a total of 29 pitches in those 3 days. So he's already done 3 straight.
Yeah. And have you talked to him? Is he acting like, hey, this is all cool with him?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's having a blast. He wants to feel like an important part of the pitching staff, and I think he, the one thing he said when he moved to the bullpen was that he hoped he'd get to pitch leverage innings, and whether or not Skip Schumacher labels him as closer or simply his quote unquote highest leverage arm, he is the most important guy in the bullpen.
Oh, there's no question about that. Yeah, that's what I hope to see here, and I think.
Have you noticed how good my voice sounds today?
That's great. It's unbelievable. It's kind of like the most interesting man who ever lived. So, in baseball, is already evolving away from what was the classic. Okay, we got our setup guy, we got our closer. Here we go. And I like to see the Rangers be at the forefront of that. If you come up there, if it's the 7th inning and that's the meat of the lineup coming up, it's a tight game, then throw Latz then if you need him then. And let him throw a couple of innings and then figure it out when it gets to the back end.
I think more likely than that is like if you get to the 8th inning, and you've got some lefties coming up in the 8th, I think you're more likely to let him go 6 outs than to start him in the 7th. But hey, if you face a team that's got 3 straight lefties, maybe you do that and ask him to pitch the 8th and then hope you've got a lead in the 9th that somebody else can get 3 outs. But I think more likely you're going to see him do like some 8th, 9th inning duty than you would like the 7th.
Yeah, for sure. My point is that, look, bases loaded in the 7th, that kind of thing. Listen, we got to get out of this thing. This is all going to spiral out of control here. Why throw a subpar guy out there at that point when it's in danger of igniting? Go with your best guy right then. That's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
All right. So Evaldi's, so the rotation, what's your temperature on that now? I mean, DeGrom and Evaldi have been all over the map this year. They've been terrible. They've been fantastic.
I don't think there's been any point in time that Jacob DeGrom has been terrible.
He had one bad start.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he did. Go back and look. I think it was like 2 starts ago, 3 starts.
He had that. Yeah, he had that where he was charged because I think those were inherited runners that scored. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. All right. See,
he was charged with 6 runs. That's right.
Yeah, that's a bad start. Don't question me, okay? That's twice you've questioned me, and both times you were wrong.
I will question you whenever I need to, but I will again remind you that he went into the 7th inning in that game in Yankee Stadium, and I believe 2 inherited runners scored in the 7th.
Well, 6 runs, 4 runs, 6 runs. Neither one is Jacob DeGrom type stuff. The last start, unbelievable. 10 strikeouts, no walks. What was that? 1 run he gave up?
No runs, Kevin.
No runs in his last start. I mean, that's just, the guy is unbelievable. When it's all clicking with him, he's just, he, in my mind, he's the Corey Seager of the pitching staff. And they've got 2 guys here. I mean, both these guys are borderline Hall of Famers, right? DeGrom and Seager.
DeGrom's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer for you?
Yeah. I mean, look, wins count less and less in people's in baseball value these days. His next win will be his 100th of his career. He's got 2 Cy Youngs. He's closing in on 2,000 strikeouts before the end of this year is over. He's the all-time leader in WHIP. He's the second all-time leader, I believe, in WHIP. He's all-time leader in strikeout to walk rate, and I think he's second among pitchers in this century in strikeouts per 9 innings. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's close in my mind. I gave up my vote years ago, but
Jacob DeGrom entered the game in 2014. I think you would be hard pressed to find a pitcher over the course of Jacob DeGrom's career that pitched better than him.
No, it's not the matter of how he's pitched. When he pitches, he's great. The problem is that he doesn't always pitch.
Yes,
and that's a huge issue. And I think that's going to be when it comes his time for the Hall of Fame voting too. And he gets in. That will be the complaint. People will say, "Man, the guy didn't pitch very much. He's great when he pitches, but he didn't pitch." That's the thing, though, that sets him apart to me is that he comes back and he's always great. I mean, you could almost always expect it whenever he's out there on the mound. And when he doesn't pitch well, like he did, gave up 4 runs and ultimately 6, you're like, what the heck is this?
Correct.
And whereas Evaldi, he's working hard to get what he's getting. He's scuffling all the time. And he can really be great, but it's an effort for him. It just doesn't seem like an effort with DeGrom. It's just
it's always just seems effortless. Yes.
Yeah, he's a robot. All right, that's going to do it for our podcast this week. We'll be back next week and talk about more stuff. We'll find out if anybody else is.
Well, I thought you were going to Bora Bora next week.
No. We are going to New York in a couple of weeks, though, for my brother-in-law's Field and Supply up in upstate.
Field and Stream.
No, Field and Supply. Look it up. It's a big deal. So that'll be a lot of fun. But I'll be around. I'm not going to miss any podcast time for that. I can't miss with my boys. So from everybody in here to everybody out there, thanks, and we'll see you next time.